Welcome to the Guildford Games Festival interview sessions. We're here at the Boiler Room and I'm joined by Joss from Guildford Borough Council. Hello.
Hi.
How you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. Very excited to have the festival running again.
Oh, I'm so pleased, and thank you so much for coming down to speak to us as well.
No problem.
Starting from the start, what's your role within the council?
I am the leader of Guildford Borough Council, so I provide, I guess, political leadership for the Borough Council.
That sounds very serious.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm as surprised as you are. My background is not politics at all, so I'm very new to this, and I was very new to learning about the gaming industry and how important it is to Guildford. Having lived here for 10 years, it's only really in the last 18 months that I've realised what an amazing industry we have on our doorstep. And finding out that my daughter's favourite game, Little Big Planet, was actually made here.
You can pretty much see it from where we are. It's crazy. Yeah.
Exactly. I think that's one of the things we need to do, is to let everyone in the borough know just how important and how big the gaming industry is in Guildford. I mean, it's 2,000 people, 70 companies. You know, the industry in the UK is, I think, 7 billion. You know, everyone seems to be worried about fishing. That's less than $1 billion. Yeah. So it's incredibly important, and I think more residents need to know what we have on our doorstep and the importance of the industry.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the games industry for coming up to 15 years, maybe. I'm not sure. But when I first looked into it, when I realised, oh, okay, I'm not just going into this situation as an administrator or as a receptionist. I'm a developer. I'm part of this, and I became very, passionate about that space. Looking into what it made up in the UK. Job market, essentially 0.2%, and that was only about 7 years ago or something ridiculous. And now we're, as you say, at a place where we're generating billions, not outside and within
and it's clean, it's climate friendly, and it's an outlet for amazingly creative people. And I think all generations need to realise that people involved in the manufacture and design of games are incredibly talented artists. And also, in traditional art, they're very talented as well.
Of course,
I think Guildford has a slightly kind of stale image, maybe very home counties, very safe, and we just have all this on our doorstep, and we need to let the residents know what we have.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's our aim with the festival is to shout about all of the amazing talent and creativity that we have in this town, because it's not just if you play games and if you enjoy games, then you'll know about the studios in Guildford. The wider community, the wider people in the country that maybe don't pick up games, they would have seen these games on their televisions as adverts or in magazines or whatever, because that really is the level of talent and skill that Guildford's displaying. So, I mean, you said that you only found out 18 months or so ago just how much of a hub Guildford is. Do you find that that's something that you're encountering with other people? Do you have to kind of explain to other people?
Absolutely. I think the council needs to be better at shouting about what we've got that's good and we want to promote. And I think maybe it's a slightly British thing that we're a little bit reserved when it comes to saying how we're good, and we need to be slightly more American about it. And this is something we should be shouting from the rooftops about, is the strength of this industry. And all levels of government, be it borough, county or central, needs to be helping put the things in place to help the industry thrive in Guildford. I mean, we have a lot of plans for regenerating the town centre, making it a much better place, less traffic, more homes for people, because obviously if you're going to get growing industry, you need somewhere to live.
And people travel from all over the world to come and work.
Exactly. So we need to make it as attractive as possible, and that's getting cars out, getting nice, opening up the riverside, all those things. So that's something we're working quite hard on at the council at the moment, is that whole sense of place to make it more attractive, which makes it easier for you to attract and retain quality staff.
Absolutely, and there is, as I'm sure we're all aware, lockdown didn't do anything to curb it, to curb people playing games or to kind of put any kind of dampener on the amount of video games that people would want to play. So the industry as a whole is facing a situation where we've got a real deficit of developers, that we've got to be really focusing on education, that we've got to be really looking at grabbing people, getting people's attention at a young age to ensure that they're considering a career in tech, because even now, even in this modern age where we all have our iPhones in our pockets and we're holding various tablets and whatever else, we still don't always, I think there's still a stigma that doesn't entirely see tech as especially games, as a viable career choice.
I know, and I think we can help with that. I mean, Guildford is blessed with some amazing schools, in the state support in the private sector. I think we're about to get a STEM academy, hopefully.
Awesome. And
we obviously have a University of Surrey, which should be just feeding you, but I speak to students when we were canvassing, and you ask them what the best thing about Guildford is, and they say the train to London. And that's a bit depressing. What you want is we're getting some quality graduates out of the University of Surrey, and hopefully we can keep some of them and around here, feeding the industry. And
because it is, it's cutting edge. We're not just dealing with, it was a game and it was kind of okay. We're dealing with AAA, and Battlefield goes into early access today. That's everywhere at the moment. Everyone's going to have heard of that.
I mean, big game releases now are like Hollywood premieres of films, and that's a message we need to get across, that this is not something that slightly nerdy teenagers play in their bedrooms anymore. This is a global industry of all ages can play, accessible. And just need to keep amplifying that message. And as I said, we have it on our doorstep, and it's a shame more people don't know. And I think we can do more. One of the things I was chatting to Siobhan Reddy about was she's quite keen to put on some sort of art exhibition in traditional art forms for game designers, just to showcase, look, we can do this and this.
Yeah, exactly. This leads to
exactly.
Almost, yeah.
And make that kind of accessibility to people that wouldn't actually associate games with traditional artists. And I think all of that kind of breaking down the barriers of the industry is really important, and hopefully we can help facilitate some of that.
Yeah, and actually, Media Molecule as a studio is almost a microcosm of that. If you walk into that studio, you'll see sculptures from the last lunchtime lesson where everyone sat down and made something out of clay, and you'll hear the choir practicing every Friday. They actively engage these other kind of mediums to bolster the creativity.
I haven't yet got an invite, but I'm hoping.
I'll give you I'll put a good word in, Joss. I'm sure I can sort something. I don't know if I can. I'll do my best. But yeah, it does kind of help draw a circle around the fact that creativity is creativity, and whether you're pouring that into a digital medium or whether you're literally using your hands to create something out of clay, the transferable skill there is that you're a creative. Therefore, you could have space within the gaming industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we definitely need to be shouting about it a bit more. And as far as, Guildford's history from the gaming side of things is that we had Bullfrog and studios like that, and they actually went on to attract, so those smaller kind of indie studios brought in the big boys, brought in EA and brought in the Microsoft and all that kind of stuff. Is there anything we could be doing to foster more indie studios?
I think the council has invested in some kind of sort of almost rent-a-desk facility, so that a bit more flexible working space, so to provide that link from whether it's bedroom or garage or someone with an idea to the next stage where it's a group of people getting together, then because obviously in Guildford we have a problem that rents are expensive. So if we can provide that stepping stone for companies as they grow, that's something that we can help do. We've just invested in a company, a relatively small company that does that kind of flexible desk space.
Awesome.
And I think that can help. But it's we need to do more, and that's why the regeneration of the town centre should provide more office opportunities, because people want to work in the town centre, and Guildford is quite constrained by roads and railway lines and rivers, and we don't actually have that much office space in the town centre. And I think hopefully some of the new developments coming on North Street, Debenhams, will free up more space for kind of some for your companies to grow and not have to leave, or move somewhere you don't really want to go, slightly on the outskirts.
And that happens. We've seen that kind of starting to happen already. I know 2 Point are desperate to create a kind of Farnham Guildford bubble, because that's where they've headed out to, and they want to continue to kind of grow it there, so that they don't feel that they're missing out on anything, essentially. I imagine.
But I think everyone needs to become if we're going to meet our climate change goals as a world, you have to live, work near, so you're not driving all over the place, or there's public transport routes because we need to stop using cars. That's the one thing we need to do. So we need to provide what the cliche is, the 15-minute town, where everything within 15 minutes of your house, walking. And it was a long way away in a lot of places, but we have a lot of opportunities in Guildford, because there's a lot of regeneration that needs to happen. There's beautiful parts of the town centre. There's other bits that haven't been changed since the 60s that are just quite grim. The walk from the station to the high street is awful. And we need to do something about that. There's a lot of surface car parks. So it's just an inefficient use of space in 2021.
And we are in a beautiful part of the world. I mean, I know we're talking about cutting-edge technology and we're talking about, digital mediums, but maybe the reason that Guildford gets overlooked is because as far as the tech side of things, is because it is a quiet, leafy little town tucked
But that's the
away,
beauty of Guildford.
Yeah.
It has those contrasts. It has fingers of AONB, Area of Outstanding Natural Beauty, coming into the town from Merrow or Pewley Down or Shalford. And then we have these amazing cutting-edge tech industries. And it's not just gaming. We have, satellites on the research park, companies involved in AI. We have companies that measure biodiversity. Obviously, 5G is a huge part of what the University of Surrey does. Yeah. So there's all these pockets, contrasting with the more traditional industries in financial services, law. So we have everything in Guildford. Yeah. We're actually going for city status. I don't know if you know.
I've heard this.
And that is one of the key things to say. We have something for everybody in Guildford. We have the history, the castle from the 11th century to industries that are leading the world into the next century.
Yeah, absolutely. And your mention of the research park, there's so many of the studios that I loved started in some way.
Yeah. But that's what I was saying about those little incubator spaces, and the research park needs to grow because they're inundated with requests for those kind of incubator space, and where they can where ideas then become companies.
Exactly. And what we're learning through these conversations is, we can make games in lockdown, of course. I mean, look at what EA are doing, look at what Media Molecule are doing. Of course we can make games when we're, distanced. However, the real collaboration, the real creativity, the real, riffing off each other and finding something that you wouldn't ordinarily find all comes from, even if you are a small team, being next to each other and actually seeing someone engage with your products.
And I should recognise the work that the Enterprise M3 LEP has done. Why these clusters pop up in places, and then how you can keep that environment there to allow it to grow before companies get too big and want to go somewhere else. So it's like, obviously having these clusters is really good because, as you say, the cross-pollination of ideas is very powerful. And it's understanding the conditions you need for that, and then the conditions that need to change to help it grow as the industry grows. So we've got good partners in the local enterprise partnership, and everyone realises the importance of keeping the cluster with the resources it needs to grow.
That makes sense. As far as education, I mean, yes, we've got the university. I know they've recently started really, I don't know how recently, but pushing towards, Guildford is actually this hub of gaming, and we can start to kind of integrate that. We've heard from some of the local colleges came and spoke to us about their gaming courses, which I had no idea you could even do gaming courses at college level. Amazing.
I might go back.
I know, I'm tempted, frankly. I could have a different career. I could be a programmer by now. Couldn't. But how can we, what tools or platforms could we both be using, games industry and the wider Guildford community, to ensure that we're sparking the imagination of young people?
It's just all communication. I mean, you just need to get in front of schools. I mean, to be honest, I mean, you're going to have a far easier job than me. I'm trying to go into schools at the moment. I've got done one and going to another next month to go and talk to kids about local politics. I think you're going to have a far easier, because it's one of those things that people just know that goes on but don't know anything about it, and you just need to fire imagination because there are young politicians out there, like there are young game designers out there, and it's just a matter of getting that imagination early and letting people realise that it's accessible for everybody. And there is a wide range of jobs. You don't just need to be a programmer. There's a wide range of jobs within the industry, and it's just that advertising of all the opportunities. And and for me, as an accidental politician who kind of stood in a ward where I thought I was guaranteed to lose, and I now find myself doing it. Council is not scary at all. Anyone can do it. You just need to care about where you live. And I think we need to show that most jobs are accessible, and it's just getting that message out there. Definitely. And you can only do that by going to talk to people. Yeah. And I think that the heads of all the schools will be very open to saying, look,
I could talk for England. If they'll have me, I'm in.
Well, as you noticed, so can I. So might need 2 assemblies.
Brilliant. Yeah, for sure. It's I think it's a similar thing to what you're saying, that anyone can do it, but there's this kind of aversion that, no, I don't know if I'm talented enough. It sounds very serious. It sounds very scary. All of that stuff.
Yeah.
And ultimately, we are battling against, with games, the misconception that certainly was a thing once upon a time, that it's a boys' club and that it's all dudes and that you need to be a certain kind of woman to be in this space, and all of that is slowly breaking down.
That's exactly the same as Guildford Borough Council.
It's
like, I think the expression was male, pale, and stale. That was what you need to be a councillor. But hopefully now we have a very diverse, and that's a cliche. It's been changing for years. But as I said,
but it has to change over years. It can't be done like overnight.
It can't, and you can only do that by breaking down the barriers that some people put up because they don't want new people coming in. But it's to, that's to the detriment of the council or the industry. And I think you can only get out there by educating people, and that's talking.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm 100% an advocate of that. And I think that with video games, it is about opening the door ultimately and saying, look, as we've said, transferable skills. You don't even have to be technical. You could be, we still need support services, and it's still an exciting environment. That was my kind of route into games, was to fall out of college, no real education, and then to realise that I was doing a job that I hated and I was going to have to do it for the rest of my life. And waking up every morning was like, oh no, what have I done? Yeah. This is it. But then discovering that Guildford was on our doorstep, and just running at any interview that was offered to me, eventually you kind of find a way in. But now we're in a space where there's a lot more roles, a lot more open spaces for people.
I think as well, I haven't worked in a games company, but I should imagine it's the best kind of job where you don't actually know what's going to happen every day. And I think that is such a big selling point.
Entirely different. Those failures, when you think something's gone horribly wrong, it's great.
But failure is not a failure; it's just something to learn from. But you have to embrace your failures as your successes. Don't you? We're getting a bit philosophical.
No, well, in a good way. And ultimately, with game dev, we find that if we're talking about once a game is released and it's in the hands of players, it's bugs that Twitch streamers are going to love the most, and they want to go in and see the thing go wrong, and they want to play it, and the audience is going to find it hilarious, and they're walking across the ceiling upside down, and that's cool when those things happen. Of course, they're not supposed to, but if there's a positive spin, it's that it does kind of encourage more fun to be had. And of course, with games, there's not much else that we do other than fun, which is good. So when it comes to inspiring young people and maybe dealing with perception from parents that games aren't a serious job, a serious career. If there was a game, if a parent came to you and said, my kid wants to get into video games and I've heard they're all violent, or they're all this, or they're all racing games, is there a particular game that you would say, did you know this was made in Guildford? And
I think Little Big Planet is my personal favourite. It's kind of an entry level, all ages. I think even my mother's played it.
I know.
But it's just there are games for everybody, all ages, all interests. Whether you're into role-playing games or simulation games, or action games, racing games, it's everything. I think one of the things as well, the Guildford Museum are trying to get a copy of every single game that's been designed in Guildford, and it's just the range of titles. I don't think we're anywhere near there yet. So if you know a guy that knows a guy, but I think that just seeing just the diversity in the production, that there is a game for everybody, and they're not all 18 certificate blood and gore. There is that if you like.
Of course,
but there are other games.
And I think what we're learning with games becoming such a big medium, and more people playing video games, and sometimes not even realising that they might be a gamer, for want of a better term, we're seeing that there is no niche too small to be a success, really, in the games industry. That you can be into video games that are really, really specialist and still have a huge community of people to speak with.
But as well, there's I guess you've got the the quick app game that's relatively easy to develop, versus the big kind of, as we said, the Hollywood blockbuster side. Stuff, there's all and everything in between. So I just encourage people to go and investigate what's out there.
I couldn't agree more. And just a final point is, could the industry in Guildford, I know we've spoken about what the museum are up to, what you guys are up to with the council, but is there anything else you can think of that the games industry, whether that's the Guildford Collective or whether we do it as individual studios or individuals, is there anything else we could be doing to help raise our profile with the wider world?
I think there is a sense sometimes that the gaming industry is anti-establishment, but certainly the council under my leadership is your friend, and I will help. And we the council is great at introducing people and facilitating things. We don't have a lot of money, but we know most people and we know where things. So we're very happy to help. And I think, you know, as an industry, making that connection with the people that live around you as you work is really important, and we can help do that. But I mean, you know, it's really just, we all need to realise as residents of Guildford, you know, the importance, and we need to keep you here and give you everything you need to grow and be successful here and attract more people here.
I think that it may be the first time I've heard someone in a very official space say that about the games industry in Guildford, and it makes me very, very happy. So thank you.
I've got to deliver it now, though, haven't I? I've said it on camera.
Now, if you could just go make sure that happens, that would be great. We'll be watching.
And I am personally happy to come and speak to anybody within the gaming industry if you have any issues. I mean, there's a lot of kind of, you know, mystique about, you know, why all business rates levels and where does it go and all this kind of stuff, and I'm happy to go through all of that. And you know, I'm not, as I say, I'm very new. I'd only been in the council chamber twice before I was elected, so I'm not, you know, I'm quite different.
But you've got that opportunity, right, to approach it differently, exactly. and to take it in a different direction potentially. Exactly. And just, you know, as I said, just to hear someone say gaming is really important, we need to make sure that we're fostering this in the town. I feel like it's, you know, almost as if nobody's ever spoken about it before. You know, all of us, we know and we love games and we play games and we know the ecosystem and we know the different studios and we, you know.
No, I think people just go, oh, Guildford's the Hollywood of games, and they don't actually, and they just like the buzzword because it's kind of a bit showy offy, is it? You know, but you have to realise that it won't be if we don't keep investing in it.
Yeah, because what initially attracted is very much what you were saying about if you talk to young people about Guildford, what they like, the train to London. Developers initially came here because it was so close to London, but it wasn't London. So it's, you know, the flip of that, and now we have to make sure that we're making it an interesting and exciting space for everyone to exist in, and honouring this history, because you know that those early kind of furtive studios and games that we were talking about that came here in the first instance and attracted all of the bigger ones. That is not just the history of Guildford, it's the history of the entire games industry. And it's stuff that has, you know, even now, I saw a studio post the other day about a zoo game they made, and they said, kind of like theme park, but a zoo. Even now, we're you know, studios way outside of the Guildford bubble are talking about games that were made in Guildford 25 years ago that are still so important to the wider ecosystem. So
I think you know, the gaming industry needs to make its voice heard by engaging with some of the things that the council does as well. Like how many people in the industry respond to consultations about Guildford's future? Because if you think about the demographic that tends to do that, it's probably very different to the demographic that works in your industry. So we're getting a biased perception of what Guildford wants.
This is it.
So when we shape the future policy of Guildford or what we're doing here, or you know, there's a classic example with the redevelopment of Debenhams. You know, half of Guildford don't think it should be any higher than 4 stories. You may think very differently because you think actually we need.
How many studios can we get in there?
Well, exactly. But unless you respond to the kind of consultations, I'm only hearing one side, and that's something that everyone in the industry should do is to say what you want and what you need. Otherwise, we won't hear.
And I think, you know, that's a good point to kind of dig down a little bit, which is that we're so heads down with what we're doing. We just crack on with, okay, we've got a new game to make, a new system to understand, a new console to get our heads around, whatever the next thing is. And also as game makers, we have to be game players to make sure that we're keeping up with everything. It's so easy to put blinkers on and not see you know, everything else is.
I mean, we think we're doing the right thing. We're trying to make it a much more beautiful place around the town centre with more homes and get some traffic out of it. So we're trying to make it a nicer environment and provide, you know, homes for people at the start of their career, i.e., not, you know, detached mansions up on the hills. You know, more kind of, you know, apartments, you know, walkable to the station, that kind of thing. So we think we're doing, you know, that side of it. But if that's not what you want, you need to let us know.
Well, I'm going to make sure that all of my Guildford studios.
I could actually regret saying this now, couldn't I?
I'll see what I can do. I'll send some emails. But Joss, it's such a great point that, you know, equally we need to be working together. We need to make sure that if we want something to be visible, if we're looking to bring more people into an industry, that industry has to be shouting about itself as much as the kind of support system around it. So. Yeah, we've got some work to do, but thank you so much.
No, thank you for the opportunity.
Not at all.